because I have got a lot to do with you guys. Okay, so this is exercise 7. Kom, julle oudjies, Jacob, Matt. By oefening 7 het jou los op vir X, deur elke keer die algemene oplossing te gee en dan die spesifieke oplossings as 'n bepaalde interval te gee. So, cos 2x plus cos x is equal to 0. So what I did is that first part, this cos 2x, I wrote as 2 cos squared x minus 1. Then you'll see that over here it forms a trinomial. If I just shuffle my terms around a bit. Sien julle die 3 term? Nee. Okay, en dan kon jy dit gaan faktoriseer. Is daar van julle wat nog sukkel met daai faktorisering? Huh? Remember what I told you guys last time? If you look at this one, what I do is instead of cos, I just think of normal x's. So I see that as 2x squared plus x minus 1 is equal to 0. Then it looks like our normal trinomials. And then it's easier for me to factorize. Right? And then you'll see it factorizes to be x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. So then, instead of just saying x plus 1, I say cos x plus 1. And instead of saying 2x minus 1, I say 2 cos x. No. So that works for me. Otherwise, it looks too demakar. No. All right. So, once we got there, once we factorized, I then have to make each one of those equal to 0, no? So cos x plus 1, make that equal to 0. So that's how I got here. Cos x is equal to minus 1. What's wrong? Vader is het weer julle. Okay. Goed. Then, your little reference angle when you say cos is, or shift cos 1, will be 0 degrees. So that's why I stick to x will be 180. You can say that plus 0, but you could skip directly to here. 180 plus n times 360. Ek hoor hom die keer. Maar as net okay, then the second bracket, the 2 cos x minus 1. If I take that, I make that equal to 0. So take the 1 over. Then I've got to get rid of that 2. So if I take it over, it becomes divided by 2. So cos x is equal to a half. If I want to get my reference angle, shift cos, a half, that's going to give me 60 degrees. No. Okay, and done. In quadrant 1, it would just be the reference angle plus n times 360. In the fourth quadrant, cos is also positive, and that will be 360 minus the reference angle plus n times 360. Ooh. Hier was die plek nie, maar skryf hom daar. Meaning x will be 300 plus n times 360. Okay. Any questions? What is it? I didn't mind. I completed it from where I didn't have the trinomial. What did you do? Still go as cos equals a half. It's probably wrong, but no, but what did you do? Ek wil nou weet of jy 'n towerstafie geswaai het en of jy bolie geskryf het. Probably was bolie. What is that? 2 cos squared x minus 1. Yeah, and cos x, then I have that, then I took the 1 over, then I'm left with that. So then I took the complement of cos x, then I took the 2 over and I converted that into 160. And then did like that. And that's probably right. Dis nie reg nie, want jy wil dit equal to 0. Want eintlik Cos x times cos x will be cos squared x.
Yes, ma'am.
Is equal to that. And then technically you've got to get square root of this.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's his square root.
Yeah.
No.
That's the part that I was unsure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions here? Huh? Say, Owen. You didn't write the? Hoekom nie? Remember, when we get two options, you've got to work with both of those, no? Okay. But you had the blue. Okay. You still got to go on with both of them as if there was something on their own. Okay. Right. Can I skip? Goed, daar's nommer 2. So, nou moet ek gou self eers kyk wat ek hier gedoen. Oh, the sine 2x, that identity, I made 2 sine x cos x. No? Do you guys see that? And then, both of these two terms, I can see I can take out a common factor of sine x. So if I do that, I've got sine x plus 2 cos x. Now, remember, we want it to be equal to 0 because then I can make both of those equal to 0, no? So if I take the sine x and make that equal to 0, I can't go any further than that. Or take this bracket, sine x plus 2 cos x. Have a look on the right-hand side. If I make that equal to 0, you would eventually take the 2 cos x over, and that's why it becomes minus 2 cos x. Right? But now I've got sine x on the one side and cos x on the other side. And we can't work with that. So then you'll see I did the blue part. I divided both sides by cos x. Because when I do that, sine x over cos x will give me tan x. No. And on the right hand side, can you see that cos x will cancel out with this one? So I'm just left with minus 2. No. Now it looks more like what we want. And tan will be negative in quadrant 2. So then, x is equal to 180 minus my reference angle of 63,43 plus n times, and this part is important, have a look, n times 180. Why 180? Because the period of a tan graph is 180. No, Celara, don't forget that. Okay, so all I did next is just simplify that. So they asked me for the x must be between negative 360 and positive 360. So to get that, I'm going to substitute n at n. A minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, and 2. No. So if you look at the blue, I got minus 243,43 and 296,57. And at the yellow, that could only be negative 180 or positive 180. Any questions? Where did it? Can I skip, people? You guys must not ask, nee? Julle moet vra. Asseblief. Want hierna gaan ons aan na nuwe goodies. Goed, hands up, we're still copying. Kom, vinnig. Nou sien ek julle weer vir 'n dubbel verslag. Oh, môre, lekker. Kan ek maar skip? Right, there's number 7. So you'll see that cos 2x, I changed to 2 cos squared x minus 1. Then I had to go and multiply n at minus 4, and that's how I got this, the minus 8 cos squared x plus 4. Now take everything to the one side, make it equal to 0, and then it actually forms a trinomial. Right. So over here, I factorized the trinomial, and then I can make each one of those brackets 0. So if I make that one 0, I'm going to get 3 cos x is equal to minus 2, and take that 3 over, so it would be cos x is minus 2 over 3. As ek hierdie hakie gaan 0 maak, dan gaan ek hê cos x is gelyk aan positief 1. En dan vir elkeen van daai gaan kry jy weer jou verwysingshoekie en gaan kyk na wat se kwadrant hy gaan wees, né? Cos is hier negatief, and that will be negative in the second and the third. So dis kom ek werk met 180 minus en 180 plus by die blou. On the right hand side, cos is positive, but cos x is equal to 1. En my verwysingshoekie daar is 0, né? So hy gaan net bly 0 plus n maal 360. Laat ek hoor questions. We're still copying. Okay. En as jy stil raak ek met my siene lees. Ja.
Why did you get from 11 cos x to 3 cos x?
From here to there. Okay, so have a look. Cos squared x, cos squared x. So they are like terms. No. So 11 of those minus 8 of those gave me 3 cos squared x. Do you understand that part? Okay, then this cos x, I took over, so it became the minus cos x. Okay, then this 4 was on the left-hand side. If I take that 6 over, it becomes minus 6. So 4 minus 6 gave me this minus 2. And then it forms the trinomial. You good? Okay. Anyone else? Kan ek maar skip? Right. Oh. Okay, kom ons kyk gou-gou. So there was a lot done here. So first things first, have a look. The sine 2x, I changed to 2 sine x cos x. There. Cos 2x, I changed to cos squared x minus sine squared x. Then the last one, 1, I made sine squared x plus cos squared x. Sê hulle reg? Hoekom doen ek dit? Why do I do that one? Because then, when I multiply in this negative, you'll see I get minus sine squared x and minus cos squared x. Want dan gaan daai cos kwadraat x mekaar kan amper uit minus. Nee? Dan raak ek ontslaaf van hulle. Do you guys see? Yeah. The part under the recording. Sine squared x plus cos squared x, yeah. And then the next step was just multiplying in that negative. That's why I got minus sine squared x and minus cos squared x. Okay, so dan gaan jy sien. Once I simplify all the like terms in this third line, I get 2 sine x cos x minus 2 sine squared x. is equal to 0. Now, you can see that in both of those terms, I have a common factor of sin x. En ons ook 'n gemeene factor van 2, nee. So I took out 2 sin x. It wouldn't be wrong if you maybe left the 2 inside the bracket, nee. Dat gaan dieselfde op uitwerk. Okay, so dan, I can make this equal to 0. And that 2 in front would technically go over, and 0 divided by 2 is still just 0. Nee. Okay, en dan die ander raakie, cos x minus sin x. As ek dit gelyk maak aan 0, dan gaan ek mos daai minus sin x oorvat, en dan raak dit cos x is gelyk aan sin x. Now we're sitting with the exact same problem as we had earlier on. I've got cos x and sin x, so I want to get rid of either one of them. So I'm deciding to divide by cos x, because then on the right hand side, sin x divided by cos x will give me tan x. En cos x gedeel deur cos x gee dan vir my net 1. Okay. Waar is jy nie lekker nie, Ouam? Sê vir my, ek sien vir jou. Sê maar. Ja? Is seker? Nee, sê hom. The whole thing. Is daar nog van julle wat so voel? Is daar nog van julle wat voel, verstaan glad nie? Okay, moet ek hom gou weer van voor af vat? Okay. Right. So, the first part, sin 2x, that's a double angle, right? So that I make 2 sin x cos x. Julle moet my nou dadelik stop as julle nie by is nie, né? Okay. Then the next one, cos 2x. That's also a double angle. Now remember, at cos 2x, I've got 3 options. Jy kon enige van hulle gebruik het, né? But I used cos squared x minus sin squared x. Okay. So again, just wrote my identity. Then you will see that now I still have cos's and sines. So that 1, instead of 1, remember 1 is the same as sin squared x plus cos squared x. Nee. So in plaas van 1 skryf ek sin squared x plus cos squared x. Ouam? Sê nog by. Right. The rest of you, almal reg? Okay, nou wat ek nou doen, is I'm going to multiply in that negative. Nee. Then it becomes minus sin squared x and minus cos squared x. Okay, almal reg daar. Okay, now I want you to see that I've got cos squared x minus cos squared x. Sien julle so, hulle gaan mekaar uitkanselleer? Nee? Okay, so the 2 sin x cos x stays 2 sin x cos x. Then the cos squared x and that cos squared x cancelled out. So then minus sin squared x minus sin squared x. Now those are like terms, nee? So minus one of them minus another one would give me minus 2 sin squared x. Wie's nie by tot daar nie? Was there a hand? No. Oh, is jy reg? Reg. Is julle almal okay? Right. Okay, so from here, I saw that both of these terms have got sin x. I can take out sin x and have a look. There's actually 2 sin x's over here. No. So that's why I take out a common factor of sin x. Maar jy kan ook sien, daar's 2 en hier's 2. So that's why I take out 2 sin x as a common factor. Okay, so if I take out 2 sin x, laat ek net hierdie wegvat. Wat bly dan nou hier oor? Ek het daai en dit gevat, so al wat oorbly is die cos x. Nee. You guys good? If I take out 2 and one of those sine x's, what would be left? Sine x. Okay, right. Then, because it's equal to 0, I can now make each one of them 0. So, I made this equal to 0. Nee? Is julle reg? Okay, and then what would happen is this 2, I'm going to take it over so it would become 0 divided by 2. Nee, but that's still just 0, so that's why I have sine x is 0. Is julle reg? Okay, let's look at the second option. Now I've got to make that equal to 0. When I make it equal to 0, this sine x, I'm going to take over, so it becomes cos x is equal to sine x. Wie sê by tot daar nie? Julle reg? Okay, now we're sitting with both cos x and sine x, and I can't go any further than that, so to make it easier for me, I'm going to divide by cos x on both sides. Nee? Onthou wat ook al ek doen, ek moet dit aan albei kante doen, because then I'm not changing anything in the equation. So, sin x divided by cos x, sin x over cos x is actually tan x. Nee. And cos x over cos x is 1. Sê nou reg. Good. And then that tan x is equal to 1 gives me my reference angle. So dan gaan sê jy mos nou shift tan 1, and that gave me the 45. And remember, n times 180, want tan se periode is mos 180 grade. You guys good? Julle reg? Okay. Kan ek maar skip? Neuren, is jy alright? Nee, ja. Okay. Kan ek maar skip, oukies? Who's still copying? Okay, nou is ons gaan by oefening 8. Nou, ek het hier die laaste boekies geskryf, so dit moet ons maar saam doen. Right, so that was what was given, en hulle sê ook dit moet tussen 180, minus 180 en 180 lê. Now, what I want you to see is sine cos, cos sine. Nee, so that I can actually write as sine x plus 25. So can you see that the left hand side, daai uitgebreide hoek het ek net gou-gou gaan eenvoudiger skryf, nee. Goed, nou kan ek gaan sê, take it to the one side. Minus nee, ek ook, ons hoef nie. No, we don't even have to, no. Ja, hoef nie. Kies. Okay, so dan gaan ek sê my a reference hoekie is dan nou net 2x, nee? Sin kan jy sien is positief, sin is positive, nee? And that happens in quadrant 1 and 2. So in quadrant 1 kan jy gaan sê x plus 25 is gelyk aan 2x n times 360. Ja.
What happens to that sine 2x?
There's sine 2x over here. Can you see both sides are sine? No? So my reference angle is actually the 2x. Previously, I could use shift sign and then that number. But because I had an unknown, kan ek dit mos nou nie gaan doen nie. Nee. Maar jy kan dit as albei kante is mos nou sin. So dan kon ek net gaan sê hierdie hoekie gaan gelyk wees aan, that 2x as my reference angle. And because both of them are positive, I know it's going to be in quadrant 1 and 2. So it would be 180 minus, oh sorry, just the reference angle for quadrant 1. And quadrant 2 will be 180 minus that reference angle. So we won't physically have an answer like x is 20 or 40 or 35 or whatever. We'll have an unknown part of our answer. Okay, so it's almost like in terms of x. Okay, so x plus 25 is dit in times that. Okay, now we can take the 25 over. So, en onthou, daai 2x gaan ek ook oorvat. If I take the 2x over, it's going to be x minus 2x, nee? Which means that, kom ek skryf hom so vir julle uit. Dan gaan hy wees minus 25. Dis n maal 360. Nee, which means that that would be minus x. Maar, we don't want it to look like that. No, we don't want minus x. So we can take out a negative, which means that this will become positive x, positive 25, and what happens here? Minus n times 360. Julle reg so ver. Okay, then quadrant 2. Gaan ek x plus 25 is equal to 180 minus that 2x. En onthou jy hoef nie al daai stappies te wys nie, hè? I'm showing every single one just to explain, but I'll show you where you get your marks. Okay, so if I take that minus 2x over, this will become 3x. En dan daai 25, if I take that over, it will become 180 minus that 25. Is that okay? Everyone fine? So I'm going to have 155 plus n times 360. And now I can divide by 3. Nee, omdat daar mos nou voor die x 'n 3 staan. So x is dan 51,67 plus n times, en onthou dit moet ook gedeel word, so n times 120. Is julle reg? You guys good? Any questions? But remember, we were only able to do this because it was sine and sine. Nee? Is julle reg? Because in the next one, it's not the same. So what would we then have to do? First change it so that they both sine or that they both cos. Nee? Maar hulle moet dieselfde wees aan albei kante en dan kan ek hierdie doen. Kan ek skip? Who's still copying? Right, dat julle ook gedoen? 2, nee? Okay, now, again, I can see cos, cos, sine, sine. Nee, so dis 'n saamgestelde hoek. So kom ons skryf hom gou kleiner. Wat gaan hy wees? Sin of cos? Cos, okay, cos, and because it's cos, the sign must change. So it's not going to be plus anymore, it's now going to be minus. Oh, wait. Okay, equal to sine 2x. Maar now we get the problem. I've got cos and I've got sine. No, and we just said in the previous one, can't use that if it's not the same thing on both sides. So wat gaan ons doen? Can't I change the right hand side? Nee? Okay. Hoe gaan ek daai sin kan verander dat hy ook cos is? Ja, say. So I'm going to say that would be the same as, die ding is pap. 90 minus 2x. sien julle dit? En nou skryf my skreen raak dof. So as jy nie gedoen het nie, now it looks the same as what you previously had. So is cos positive or negative? Huh? Positive cookies. Nee, nou kyk gou-gou in watse kwadrante. Nee, and then okay, so that would be in what? Quadrant? 1 and 4. Okay, so quadrant 1. I'm going to have x minus 30 is equal to, en nou het ek mos net my reference angle. Nee, so 90 minus 2x plus n times 360. Okay, so wat gaan daai 30 oor? And the 2x over, so I'm going to have 3x is equal to 120 plus n times 360, met ander woorde, julle reg daar? Then quadrant 4. $270 plus 30 is 300, nee? Plus n times 360.